I found this just fascinating. Salvador Babones, and my apologies, Salvador, if I'm mispronouncing your name. I don't know him personally. He writes for Truthout, truthout.org. I also write for Truthout, among other sites, but they put our news up every day. And it's a great website, truthout.org. He wrote this fascinating piece. I found this absolutely compelling. The headline is "Political Polling is no longer meaningful," and he points out that in the 1936 election, and we played a lot of clips from the 36 election. This was when Franklin Roosevelt was running against Alf Landon, Republican Alf Landon. And a national poll was done by the Literary Digest in 1936. They interviewed 2.4 million people. Now, keep in mind, the average poll today interviews about 1,000 people and says it has a margin of error of plus or minus 3% or so. You interviewed 2.4 million people in the United States, and this was back when the U.S. population was only in the neighborhood of 100 million people. You interviewed 2.4 million people. You've got a margin of error rate of 0. And that poll in 1936 overwhelmingly showed that Alf Landon was going to beat the pants off Franklin Roosevelt. Roosevelt was going to be sent packing, and the New Deal with him. It was the end of the Democratic Party. That's what the poll showed. The poll was completely wrong. It happened again in 48. Same kind of polling was done. In 1948, they did the same kind of polling, and the results were indisputable. Thomas Dewey, the Republican, is going to win. And who won? Harry Truman. Famous picture of him, in that car with the convertible car holding the newspaper as he's in the parade, the newspaper with the headline, I think it was the Chicago Tribune, said, Landon wins by a landslide or whatever it was, Alf Landon wins. Or, excuse me, Thomas Dewey wins. Dewey wins. Dewey beats Truman. What was the problem with these polls? The problem with these polls was that they were both done using this newfangled device called the telephone. And in 1936, the only people who owned telephones were rich people. So you call 2.4 million of them, and they are all Republicans. Of course they're going to say that they're going to vote for Alf Landon, for the Republican. And by 48, still, most of the people who had single-line telephones, I remember as a little kid in the 50s, my parents, if it rang 3 times, it was us, right? I remember my grandparents had this kind of phone up until the 60s. The party line phones? You pick up the phone, you could hear the other people having their conversation. 1 ring is our home, 2 rings is the next door neighbor. They didn't call those kind of lines to poll people. They only called the independent lines. And that's how they got the results. Well, here's where it is now. We have seen the number of people who respond to, now that we've got caller ID, which we've had just for a decade or two, people look at their caller ID, and if they see no name that they recognize or they see an 800 number, when I see that, I don't answer the phone. I let it roll into voicemail. Figure, hey, it's not critical. I'll call them back later. As a result of this, we have seen telephone responses in the last 15 years, according to Pew, drop from 36% 15 years ago to 9% today. Could it be that our polls are useless?
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
I mean, seriously, think about it. You think America's really about to make a pirate equity manager president of the United States? I think our polls are useless. What do you think?